Thank you so much for joining us on this snowy day. My name is Daniela Marchese and I work on the school programs team at TIFF. I'd like to welcome you to today's youth film series screening of Life Without Basketball. To begin, we acknowledge that today's event is taking place on the treaty territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Huron-Wendat. We are grateful to have the opportunity to work in the community. On behalf of TIFF, I would like to thank our lead sponsor, Bell, our major sponsors, RBC, L'Oreal Paris, and Visa, and our major public supporters, the Government of Canada, the Government of Ontario, and the City of Toronto. We would also like to thank the Slate Family Foundation for their support of TIFF school programming. I have a question for you today. How many people have been to TIFF before? Okay, so some people. So in addition to today's event, we also show films all year long. So they might not be the type of films that you might see at Cineplex, for example, but we do show films. We have 5 public cinemas, so you are in the second largest cinema right now. And we also have our film festival that happens each September. And we also host various other learning and special events. I know that many of you that are here today are also attending the Skills for Change Trades Expo at Metro Hall. And I think that it's important to mention that while you're watching this film today and while you're visiting the Trades Expo, that film could not be created if it wasn't for the many skilled tradespeople involved in their creation. So from the technical crew and the camera operators and the makeup artists and the costumers and the hair crew that work behind the scenes, all of those individuals are involved in putting a film together. And oftentimes it's just those that we see on camera, and maybe it's the director and the assistant director, those sort of big names that we're familiar with in Hollywood. But there are tons and tons and tons of trades involved in putting a film together that we have to acknowledge, because otherwise buildings and organizations like TIFF wouldn't exist. So on that note, we're grateful for the opportunity to partner for Skills for Change today. And I'd like to welcome Sampada Kukaid, Associate Director, Employer Engagement and Partnerships and Program Marketing, to the stage to say a few words.
Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing this morning? Staying warm, I hope. On behalf of Skills for Change, I would like to very much thank TIFF for this partnership. We started this partnership 2 years ago, and we really feel that it's important to establish this partnership to support the arts sector and to allow access for our clients and for the community to be able to access the arts. Skills for Change is committed to providing supports for immigrants and refugees, youth, women, and seniors. And one of our key trademark programs is our Tradeswin Support Program. So today's Trades Expo is to really support those individuals who are interested in getting careers into the trades industry. And one of those industries is the film industry, which is why we feel this is a really important session for us. After the session is over, once the film is over, they'll be doing the Q&A session, and we really do encourage you to ask a lot of questions. Once that's over, you'll make your way back to Metro Hall for the exhibition. And please do go visit all of our exhibitors. We have exhibitors in all area of the trades, including we have a couple of hairdressing colleges, Marca College, Fiorio is there. We do have a union there, the NABIT 700M Unifor, which is the Ontario Film, Television, and New Media Technicians Union. So please do connect with them. They really want to speak with you to see what opportunities there are for you going forward. And there's a lot of other employers there. So if you want to learn more about any positions in the trades industry, we encourage you to go and ask. And I think some of them are giving swag as well. So that will be of interest, I'm sure, for all of us. Who doesn't love swag? So anyways, thank you so much for coming. And I will pass it along back to the organizers. And thank you again, TIFF, for supporting Skills for Change.
Thank you, Sampada. So now on to the film that you are here to see. Life Without Basketball. It is a documentary film, and it addresses following one's dreams and pursuing one's passions into a rewarding career. So we've talked a bit about pursuing the trades and exploring the trades as a possible career option. And so this is perhaps a little bit of a different angle, so following one's passion of playing basketball. Life Without Basketball profiles Bilqis Abdul-Qaadir, a young Muslim woman who broke records and barriers to become the first NCAA Division I basketball player to wear a hijab. When a controversial ban on religious headgear threatened her chances to play professionally, she was forced to re-examine her faith and identity as a Muslim American and her role as a basketball player. So we're really lucky because we have the opportunity to welcome the subject of the documentary, Bilqis, with us today. And we are also going to be joined by one of the film's directors, Jon Mercer, via Skype. He's currently in Nigeria, so he's going to be joining us via Skype after the film screening is done. So I'm going to pass things over. Bilqis actually just made it here. I'm going to pass things over to her to be able to introduce herself to you and introduce you a little bit about the film. And then we're going to have the opportunity to sit down and talk about the film after the screening is done. Sound good? Okay. Please join me in welcoming Bilqis.
Good morning and assalamu alaikum. So first off, thank you all for coming. I want to thank TIFF again for allowing this the film to be screened here. I think this is my third or fourth time coming to this wonderful theater. It's beautiful here. So Life Without Basketball. If you're a hooper or if you're any athlete, you'll understand what it is when your sport is like a part of your life. And I was born and raised in the States, Springfield, Massachusetts, which is the birthplace of basketball. Many people don't know that. We'll talk about those things a little later. However, I started playing when I was 4 years old, and it was my dream to play professionally forever. And when I reached that point, being told no was one of the toughest things that could have happened to me. So this film it started being filmed after I learned about the hijab ban that FIBA had in place. And the film took 4 years, a little bit more to get put together. So this is just a clip of about 400 hours that the producers filmed. And so it's very near and dear to me. It's very personal, it's very raw, and it's very real. I am an African American, I'm a Muslim, and I'm a woman, and I'm an athlete all wrapped in one. And so when you live that life, it gets difficult here and there. So this film will really show those difficulties, those struggles, the successes. And really, I hope and pray that this film could be just a teacher. Learn something from it, take something new from it, because you're going to see some stuff. You're going to be like, what? For real? How? So just be open, keep an open mind during the whole film. And I really, really hope you enjoy it. So relax, wake up a little bit. Y'all seem a little sleepy. I'm sleepy too. But other than that, enjoy the film. Thank you.
So we are going to begin the conversation here. As I mentioned, that we will have Bilqis, who you've already met, and then Jon, who can't see us, but maybe if you scream or say hi loud enough, he'll hear us. They're saying hi to you, Jon.
Hi, everyone.
Joining us, who is one of the directors of the film. And so we're just going to talk a bit about how the film sort of came to be, what the process of the filmmaking sort of was like, and then we'll turn things over to you to ask the questions that you might have. Sound good? Great. So why don't we start there? Jon, we'll start with you. Why don't you tell us a bit about how the process of the film sort of came to be?
Sure. So I think we were first introduced to Bilqis and to her situation through a former high school classmate of hers who was actually a student of co-director Tim O'Donnell when he was teaching high school art down in Springfield. And some years had gone by and they had reconnected. And this friend Esther sort of like introduced us to, what was happening with Bilqis. And it was the kind of story that really wasn't getting a lot of attention. And and, she just kind of suggested, hey, maybe you should, get an introduction to Bilqis and see what's going on there. And yeah, we kind of like jumped right in. So the first rounds of filming were out at a tournament with her. Bilqis was a graduate assistant coach for the team at Indiana State then. And then, really soon after that, we kind of jumped in and filmed right away with her family. We were invited to visit the home at Springfield. And, that was really kind of like exploratory footage in that first round. We weren't really too sure how things were going to go, honestly. And Bilqis and her family were just so welcoming that, a lot of that first round of filming, that it made it in what you just watched today, which is really unexpected. And it was really great just to sort of be welcomed in to the family so easily like that.
And Bilqis, do you want to talk to us a bit about what the process was like when you first started to have them follow you around in your house with your family? What was that like at the beginning?
So it was definitely an experience. It was really like a reality show, like what you see on TV, like cameras behind you, in your face while you're eating, while we were praying. And whenever we were in public, I think it was the weirdest because people are like, what's going on? And they'll just stare and watch, and you're trying to act like as normal as you can. But Tim and Jon were actually amazing. Like I said about Tim and really Jon as well, they turned into like a part of our family, and they accepted us just like we accepted them. So right now it's just for them to share my story was this is an honor. They did a great job, honestly.
Thanks. And Jon, there's a lot of students here that will be participating in a trade fair, sort of exploring a bunch of skilled trades after seeing the screening here today. Can you tell us a bit about who was involved in your crew? Other than the two directors, you and Tim, who else was involved in the filmmaking process?
Sure. Well, I mean, the way that Tim and I operate, we're really hands-on as directors. So, and our relationship is really close in that we're both sort of directing, producing, filming at the same time throughout most of this film. And then we also split the editing duties on this one as well, too. So that's a little bit unique in that sense. We had, a little bit of help on the post-production side in terms of audio support, a few designers that we worked with to help kind of set the look for some of the other elements like the poster, titles, etc. But yeah, for the most part, it's really just been the two of us. So I guess from like thinking from that as a skill development, or even thinking about what you might want to do, past high school and into college. For me personally, the writing is kind of always at the core of that, right? I think, the ability to tell a compelling story, and, find a way to just kind of engage with whoever your audience is. And that starts, in pre-production when you're kind of planning out what how this might go, some ideas around the story. It's helpful through the grant writing process. And then, even though you're filming something that's real life, right, and we don't exactly know what's going to happen, the writing kind of continues, and we're sort of like we're speculating on how things might happen. And for me, editing is sort of an extension of that also. So yeah, I think there's a lot of different skills that kind of the documentary field is interesting, right, because people with all kinds of different backgrounds, can kind of pull those skills into it. But I think finding a way to have a strong writing base, it's going to serve you well in the creative field and also, in a lot of other professions as well.
And I'm going to open it up now for questions, and then maybe we can sort of go back and forth. We can have sort of a larger conversation. Does anybody have any questions out in the group? And we have some ushers. I should say this. Sorry, I should have said this off the top. We are recording this. So if there are any questions, please wait till we come to you with a microphone. And then our ushers will hand you a microphone. And then just as we did right here, please ask your question in the microphone. And then we'll make sure that everybody's able to hear it. Go ahead.
Who is your favorite NBA player?
My favorite NBA player, I would have to say there's two. Steph Curry. And, what? Dag. And I got to go with LeBron James. And it's not about, hold on. Gosh. I'm a Raptors fan, low key. But no, I say those two players not because of their athletic ability, not because they're great shooters and great players, just in general. Well, LeBron's not really a great shooter, but Steph Curry. But no, I really enjoy them for the work they do off the court. And Steph Curry is he is a believer, right? He's very open with his religion, and whenever he makes a three, you see him point up to the sky. And you don't see a lot of NBA players just representing what they believe in, and I really take that into account. And with LeBron James, have you guys heard about the school that he opened up? Yeah. So, you know, those type of things are worth more than the points that are scored on the court. So that's one reason why. Well, a couple of reasons why I like Steph Curry and LeBron. Other than that, Steph Curry, I mean, he's a great point guard. Can y'all guard him? No. Right.
Thank you.
And any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry. And then there's a question right here. Oh, we'll just wait for the microphone. Sorry.
Growing up, who inspired you? Like, who did you look up to when you're, playing basketball, when you're in your teens and stuff?
Who did I look up to? So, I am the youngest of 8. I have 4 sisters and 3 brothers. And almost all of us played basketball. And everybody in my family has been through something. And honestly, my entire family was a support system, inspired me. And but the person, of course, that stood out the most was my mom. My mother, like there wasn't a huge part of her story in the film, but through my dad's story, through my story, is a reflection of her strength. And she homeschooled all of us. She has her own daycare. She's a daycare provider, so she does daycare in our home. And just the things that she's been through and the things that she's done in her life, she's amazing. So just seeing her strength through the things that she went through kept me going. And so I love her so much. She's amazing.
And Jon, if we can go back to you just for a second. Bilqis just mentioned her mom's story. Obviously, you spent a lot of time with her family. There was a lot of footage that you got from her family. How did you make those decisions in terms of what stories you were going to tell? Obviously, the documentary was about Bilqis, but those sort of sub-stories, how did you decide what footage you were going to show, what footage you weren't going to show, and sort of what paths you were going to take?
Yeah, those are always really challenging choices to make, especially in this case because, Bilqis' family is, there's so many characters there, and everyone really has this very deep kind of personal history, and there was really a lot of openness and willingness to share that with us. So I really could have got a number of ways, right? I think pieces of the family story that kind of start to work their way in there. I think early on we kind of decided that having her father's presence in there was going to be really important. I think, his personal struggles were really interesting and part of really what brought the story around to being about more than just basketball in a way that was like pretty clearly definable. And, I think the other side of like some of the things that her father's is into there, like this, at the heart of this is like a very original American story also. And I think expressing that to as a way of exploring different layers of identity was really important to us. But as she's sharing a little bit about her mom as well, I feel like, Bilqis, I agree with you when you say that that's so much of your strength comes from her, and just watching the way that she's raising not only siblings but really the kids in the daycare and your nieces and how she's really such a positive role model as a woman. That was really important as well, to kind of lead off with, because I think watching you, Bilqis, as you're moving ahead and starting to coach, and you yourself are starting to shape the lives of other young women along the way. That was another important point to anchor us there. But we could have made an entire film just about family, right? And not about basketball at all. So truly some tough choices there to be made. Yeah.
Jon, you just mentioned that Bilqis' father was truly an American story, but Bilqis, you live in Canada now. So what have you felt? Have you felt there to be any sort of difference between, and you live in London, Ontario, I should say. So Canadian identity versus American identity, are there any differences? What have you noticed living here?
So as she said, I live in London, Ontario, which is a lot different from Toronto, which I learned very, very fast. However, Toronto kind of gives me the vibe of, and I lived in a small city growing up in the States, but the diversity in Toronto really reflects kind of where I grew up. However, there's small differences. Of course, the government system here is a lot better in those ways, and the quality of life is a lot better. However, the struggles are the same. And even in a small city like London, and when I, kind of compare to what my dad went through, it's real, and that's the reality of a lot of people. And, as high school students, you all are still navigating life and figuring things out. But I do think it's important that you use stories like these to really help guide your way through your journeys, because we often take the social media and the influence through the music very, very lightly. And I know if I ask anybody to play a song on their iPod or their iPhones, everybody I'm sure has iPhones or Galaxies and iPads, whatever, I know there's some rap music, right? I love rap music. However, today's rap music is a little different, but that's all they talk about is alcohol, drugs, lean. You guys know what I'm talking about. Teachers might be looking at me like, what? But it's real. And those addictions are real. And I've been around a lot of people who are NBA players, NFL players, big-time people with a lot of big-time money. And a lot of what they do is, there's some hurt under there somewhere, and they fall to drugs, alcohol, things of that nature. So, yeah, you're going to have fun. You're going to do the things that you're going to do, and you're going to learn through experiences. But what kept me from falling in to some of those traps was my dad. And seeing what he went through, man, it's real. Like, drug addiction is real. I've seen him going through detox. And does anybody know what detox is? Yeah, right? I know you're high school students. But the detox, when you're addicted to like heroin and like those type of street drugs, is painful. And sometimes you get through it, sometimes you don't. I've seen him get through a week, then he leaves again. He'll come back a week later and he's ready to try again. But it's really it's a willpower that you have to have. So never, be careful, be mindful of the situations that you put yourself in, because it can take one pill to get you there. It could take one puff of some laced marijuana and it'll get you there. So be mindful of who you're with, be mindful of what you're doing, and just use these stories as examples to kind of help you through, because it's a real world out there, man. It really is.
Are there any questions up there?
So I got a two-parter question. The first one is, was your parents always supportive of what you were going through with the whole basketball issue? And then the other one is, can we do a one-on-one in basketball?
Oh, wait. Second question was can you play me one-on-one?
Yeah, can I play you one-on-one?
So let's get to the serious one first, right?
Okay.
The serious one. But no, my parents have been supportive of basketball. Like, let me tell you, they just sent me a selfie the other night at a basketball game in Massachusetts, a college game. They don't even know any of the players on the floor, but they're in the stands. I'm like, how are y'all getting these tickets? So they're like diehard any basketball fans. Like, they don't even care who's playing on the court. But when I was going through my situation and really struggling between essentially choosing hijab, choosing my faith, or basketball, I kind of kept that piece hidden when I was struggling with my hijab, because I was really ready to like let it all go for my dream. And when I finally let them know what I was struggling with, because it's scary, you know, to really let your parents know that you're battling with something that maybe disappoint them, or, you know, you just don't know. When I told them that, it was nothing but love. And it was nothing but love because my mother struggled. My dad clearly struggled, you know, so they understood it. And I think that was the beauty of that whole situation. And once I let them know what I was really battling with, they were like, look, you know in your heart what to do. And I remember that, you know, and that's all they said, you know in your heart what to do. And that's really all they needed to say. And I'm like, okay, I know what they mean. So let me get my stuff together and really stand up for who I truly am, you know? And so through that journey, it was hard, man. Like, it was tough, but as you can see, I see the fruits of it now, because I can't even tell you where my life would be if I did decide to uncover and go play, you know, because there was times where people were like, why don't you just take it off for the 40 minutes of the game and then put it back on after, right? And my response to that would be like, no, the scarf means more than that. You know, it's just a symbol of my faith. But really deep down, it really didn't mean that, because I wasn't sure what it meant until I was tested with having to choose, you know? So, and it was logical. Like for me, when I was thinking about going overseas, I'm like, I'm going to go to a country where nobody knows me. They're not going to care what I'm wearing in the game. Like, it's up to me, you know? But I knew that when I started speaking, and I started speaking in front of young Muslim girls, and I'm telling them one thing, but behind closed doors, I'm battling with a whole different situation. I felt like a hypocrite when I first started speaking and sharing my story. So I realized that I really had to protect these girls, you know, and I had a duty. And if I was going to fall short and just take it off because I feared what this FIBA organization was going to do, or, you know, I was afraid of what people were going to say, then who am I? You know, just weak at that point. So, yeah, my parents through it all were there. And your second question, can you make 10 free throws in a row? Because I only play against people who can make 10 free throws in a row. So can you?
On a good day?
Hey, when I come, where do you go to school?
I go to DAS and Oshawa, Durham Alternative.
I don't know where that is. Okay. Anyway, I don't think you're ready for this, my friend. But
I don't know.
we'll
I think
see.
I'm better than Steph Curry.
Well, maybe we can connect after the screening and we'll see. Does anybody else have any questions? Oh, well, just at the front. Oh,
Thank
we'll
you.
come back.
Let me start by saying thank you so much for your strength, Bilqis. We are here for Mark Garneau. And my question to you is, what could you say to the young females, and I see lots of males out here as well, young females and males that are going through these trialing years, facing the different challenges that they face? What is one message that you can give them to hold on to as they persevere?
Whew. Because I'm going to tell you, to be honest, like if I was a high school student right now, I wouldn't know what to do with life, because it's rough. And I think one thing I can say is to always have an anchor. And what I mean by that is have something that's going to help you settle in life and not just kind of just be blown with the wind. Because if you don't have some type of strength, if you don't have that anchor, whether it's a higher power, whether it's a parent, whether it's a book, whether it's something that's going to give you purpose and help you serve that purpose. And I think as young people, we're on a journey, right? You're trying to figure out what's next. And it's hard because I just turned 29, and you really don't know what's going to come, you know? So I think being present, having that anchor, having something that you can trust and fulfilling your purpose, really finding your purpose is I think the most important part. And when you're trying to find that purpose, you can't care about what anybody says. And I think as young people, that's hard. Like, for example, social media, right? I know everybody in here has a Snapchat, an Instagram, what is it called? TikTok. See, that's new to me. TikToks are new. They're cute, but they're new. It's new to me. But the Instagram, right? Everybody on Instagram is living a fake life. What you post is fake. And I can vouch because I'll take 20 selfies and they all look the same, but I'm still looking at them like, man, which one is, you swipe through 20, they're like, I really do look the same. I asked my husband, he's like, I think they all look the same to me. So, but we're searching for acceptance, you know? And I think once you feel comfortable in your own skin and you're proud to be who you are at all times, that's when you'll have the freedom and that's when you'll find your purpose, you know? So I think it's important that you don't let other people influence you. Don't worry about what other people think. And that's one thing I had to really, really dig down deep. Because like I said, being a Muslim woman, being physically Muslim, when I first started wearing my scarf, I hated it. I was like, people are going to talk about me. People are going to, I didn't think I was beautiful in it. It was all these different things, but I was worried about what people were going to say. And that's one part that I think as young, you really have to just unshackle and be like, I don't care what people think. This is who I am, and I'm going to be strong and stand for something. And remember that likes don't pay you unless you're an influencer, but even those that life is kind of, it was crazy, honestly. But don't worry about what other people think and find your purpose, and you can find it now. So I hope that helps somebody out there.
And just if we can get a microphone right here, there was a question just at the front.
Hi, we're here from St. Martin Secondary, and this is more of a question for the director. The class that we've brought in here are all filmers and photographers and the behind the camera people. And as much as you have a story to present, there's always a story, but the people behind the camera are never overly recognized and stuff. So our first struggle, and I'm sorry, I feel like I'm looking right up here, is if you set up your script, this took 4 years in the making, your film?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Well, 4 years of filming. I think we're, at the 6-year mark maybe now?
So are you the end result? How close were you to your beginning plan for your entire film? Like your script, all that sort of stuff. Did you plan all that and said, I'm going to be doing this for the next 6 years, we're never going to deviate? Or were you sort of at A and you ended up at Z and sort of?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that when Tim and I first started, we sort of knew that this was going to take a little time to tell the story because, there's not a lot of information about what was happening with the ruling. And even if there were, it sort of involves all of these, international organizations, with boards and policies. It didn't seem like it was going to change fast, if it was going to change at all. I think having been in the industry long enough, we sort of saw the potential for this to be a 3 or 4 or 5-year process. But no, I don't think we really saw it taking this trajectory exactly. And part of that was like really for hearing about Bilqis and encountering this rule in the first place. It seemed so crazy that it was a thing that was in existence in this world right now to begin with. So what's the process for unraveling that? How do you find the resources? How does she find the resources to really affect change in that way. So no, like we really had to adapt. I think we got about a year into it, and then there was this kind of moment of like, well, okay, like, things are happening for Bilqis and her family personally, but, where's this going? There was a whole period of kind of misdirection where, Bilqis starts coaching down in Memphis, and, she can tell you a little bit about this, but, she was like coaching soccer for a season or more. So, there's a whole version of this film where like, all right, well, it's, her path is more into coaching, but we filmed like a whole season worth of soccer, and none of that made it into the film. So I think really just being open to the process, open to the reality that we don't know everything that's about to happen, and really just kind of digging in and revising and kind of projecting. The script is very much like in flux, right? We have themes that we set up. We have characters that we've identified as being important. But really what happens to them, that's constantly being rewritten. And then, getting into the editing process, you kind of reach a point where, we're sort of identifying, kind of ran down the whole gamut of like, all right, this is everything that happened, and sort of laid it all out. And then started to group things together, and sort of mapping out, like factually what happened, right? But then also like emotionally what's happening. Where is Bilqis at this point in her life? How does she feel about what's going on? What's influencing her? What's happening around her? And then just trying to evolve that into something that represents what happened, right? But something that's also true emotionally. So yeah, it's really, it was in revision, for the entire process from pre-production all the way through to the finished film that you just saw.
Can I ask one more question? Did you ever feel like giving up, Bilqis? Like through all the filming and everything, did you just want to be like, okay, I'm done?
At many times. Sometimes Tim and Jon will call and be like, oh, we're in town, and we wanted to just come and chat. And sometimes I'd be like, oh, I really don't want to do it, because I was at the point where I wasn't sure what was going to happen. Like he said, like there was no end result. I'm still figuring out what FIBA's doing. I wanted to play, but then I knew that I had to move forward. Life got really weird. Honestly, I was at a point where I was just questioning everything. Like I was coaching soccer, right? Like I had no idea about soccer. But I knew that there was a bigger purpose to it all. And honestly, like that's where my faith came in. And prayer came in for me, because before that, like even as a high school student, I was Muslim, right? That was my faith. That's what I just knew because my parents knew it. That's what I was taught. And it didn't really mean much until I was tested with something, So through those trials and through just not knowing, I knew I needed something to help me like keep pushing forward. So of course I would say yes to them, because they're just doing what I agreed to. And I'm sure Jon could probably tell you, like there were times where I was just on the interview like not really feeling answering these questions, or he would ask me some deep question, I'd be in tears. I'm like, really, today? So the film was a journey itself within life's actual journey. So, but I really do thank them, because they brought a lot out of me. And just watching the film to see the growth, like literally my cat started as a kitten, and then at the end he's like this huge animal. And that just showed me like, man, time change, change is with time. So it was beautiful to see. Every time I watch it, I see something different.
Well, thank you so much for your courage and for telling the story.
And on that note, unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for questions. But speaking to the journey of the film, we know that you recently had some exciting news for the film. Jon, did you want to speak to that? Let everybody know.
Yeah. So, we're really, well, not quite at the end of the journey, but we've made it through. So in addition to, great screenings like you've had today with TIFF, the film is now available on iTunes and Amazon. Basically anywhere that you buy or rent films from, it's there. And what's super exciting about that is we get to bring it back into the community, and people get to watch it in their own homes and have a dialogue about that. And for everyone who watched the film today, hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you did, send us a shout out. We're on social media, and it would be really cool to start hearing back from people, either directly there or in reviews. That really means a lot to us to kind of get that feedback, and for us to kind of help share that. So yeah, we're really excited, and we're glad that we're able to do talkbacks like this, and Bilqis is able to take the stage and talk to everyone directly. So yeah, it's exciting, and I think this next year is going to be it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to continuing the journey.
And Bilqis, what are you up to now?
So currently, live in London, Ontario. My husband and I moved here a little over a year ago. We work at an Islamic school, so I'm the athletic director. He is the 6th grade teacher. We also run our own sports program called Dribbling Down Barriers, where we train high-leveled kids and just beginners as well. And it's different here in Canada because the basketball is a little different, a little shaky here, guys. We need to pick it up a little bit. But no, we're just really just trying to help these kids, especially in London, navigate through what they want to do with basketball, because some of them are really good enough to go over to the States and play. And so now we can be that liaison to kind of help these kids, and especially within the Muslim communities as well. And other than that, traveling, doing this with the film, and still public speaking. So it's fun, and I'm enjoying the ride, honestly.
Well, thank you very much for being here. And thank you, Jon, for being here as well. And thank you for your great questions.